Ready? Start. By upholding the approach of the Kaveri Water Dispute Tribunal while slightly modifying its award, the Supreme Court has boosted the prospectus of a viable water sharing arrangement among the riparian states. That it has reduced the tribunal's allocation for Tamil Nadu and raised Karnataka's share does detract from the fairness of the decision. It has underscored that no single state has primacy in assessing water resources and that rivers are national assets. This is a significant recognition of the principle of equitable distribution of interstate rivers. The Supreme Court's message is that the center should get down to creating a legal and technical framework to implement the tribunal's award as modified by the judgment. This is the strongest affirmation so far of a basin state's right to its share of water on a regular basis without having to rush to the court for ad hoc orders to open the sluices of reservoirs during monsoon deficit years. It may be possible for either side to cavil at the judgment, questioning the reduction in quantum or the obligation to adhere to specified monthly release targets, but these would be exercises in political partisanship rather than legitimate grievances warranting legal redress. Tamil Nadu, as a state that has seen agrarian distress in its delta districts, ought to be satisfied with any prescribed allocation being met as per a schedule. Karnataka can take heart from the reduction in its mandatory release target and the additional share for Bengaluru. Neither state in any case should be aggrieved by the stipulation that equity is at the heart of a water sharing arrangement. Resolving an interstate water dispute is mainly about balancing the competing genuine demands and interests of each state and coming up with a pragmatic sharing arrangement. Rather than looking at the court's decision from the narrow prism of the quantum of allocation, the parties would do well to see this as the culmination of a fair and scientific adjudicative process. They should pose no further impediment to the smooth implementation of the order and be prepared for the next 15 years to share both the bounty and distress caused by nature. By dithering, the center has not covered itself in glory throughout this protracted dispute. It took 6 years to notify the award, and even in the final hearing, argued it was not obliged to frame a scheme for implementation. Para. The argument was deservedly rejected. It should comply with the court's direction and set up the Kaveri Management Board and Water Regulation Committee as part of the scheme. It will be unfortunate If the states and the center are reluctant to accept this verdict and refuse to acknowledge its finality, there is ample judicial wisdom in the country to adjudicate complex and emotive interstate disputes, but the question is whether there are enough conscientious and cooperative parties to make judgments work. If the union budget is construed as an annual tug of war between populism and fiscal prudence, arguably it is the latter that prevailed in the past four budgets tabled by the NDA. However, populism seems to have gained an upper hand in Arun Jaitley's latest effort. Despite buoyancy in direct tax revenues bracketed 18.7% growth in financial year 18 and record disinvestment proceeds bracketed rupees 1 lakh crore, shortfalls in GST mop ups and dividend receipts have forced the finance minister to ease off on fiscal consolidation as mandated by the FRBM Act. The budget has reported a fiscal deficit of 3.5% bracketed of GDP for financial year 18 and pegged it at a high 3.3% for next year. The economic survey prepared the ground for a deviation, yet the actual numbers surprised the markets. Armed with a war chest of rupees 24.4 lakh crore in budgeted receipts for financial year 19, Mr. Jaitley has homed in unerringly on the root causes of distress, unremunerative farm incomes, unemployment, lack of social security nets, and the squeeze on the middle class taxpayer. With this in mind, Mr. Jaitley has announced a laundry list of ameliorative measures. While this intent is clear, welfareist resource constraints have forced him to rely significantly on extra budgetary resources and external agencies to give life to many proposals. If they fail to materialize, it can lead to a gap between promise and delivery. Consider agriculture. After asserting that minimum support prices bracketed MSPs should cover all crops and assure farmers 1.5 times their production cost, food subsidy allocations for financial year 19 have been upped by a relatively modest rupees 29,041 crore. A foolproof mechanism has been mooted to avoid market prices falling below MSPs, but it is left to the Niti Aayog to work out the modalities.